Hey everyone, all right, welcome to another episode of Wisdom and Justice. So, today we're going to be talking about the problems that we bring on ourselves due to control. Yeah, this is going to be a big one. This is going to be a multi-series, a multi-part one. The problems we bring on ourselves due to control. So, there was an apartment fire that you guys saw very recently in New York, and unfortunately, it looks like some people died. I haven't seen much about the story, but it looked like a lot of people died. It looked like there were some women, men, women, and children who ended up dying in that fire. And I saw a picture where the fire trucks were actually bringing ladders for people to get down out the apartment building, right? So if you're on the 15th or 20th floor or something like that, they had to get these ladders for these people to try to come down. And I looked at this, and I saw this is very symptomatic of how our society is, how we're waiting on someone to be able to save us. And this is not these people's fault by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm just saying that the way things have been constructed, we don't even think like, wow, if we're in a 30 or 40 or 50 foot story building, we should have the ladders available downstairs for community use. That when there's a fire, the people in the building can help get the ladders out. We can get the people out instead of waiting for a fire department. Because it's funny that they say every second counts, and I'll get into that a little bit with the EMS and the fire department. I have a problem with. These people do a great job of being the first responders, but I have a problem with the way the I think that the way that things are responded to, how the first responders actually get to their destination, to where the actual emergency is, could be better. I've had a couple of incidents where I almost got killed twice by a fire truck because the fire truck wasn't even following the rules that they're supposed to be following. But I remember that twice has happened to me, different parts of town, and I mean, think about those sirens are so loud. You got those lights flashing. I mean, it's almost a PTSD moment for people just experiencing it, especially if the fire truck just comes up on you, if it turns the corner and you just hear this loud blaring thing, and if you're in the middle of traffic, it's not like you can move like that quickly, right? So the thing is, every second counts. Well, every second counts, but going to save a life at the expense of killing someone else's life, that's not a formula for success. So it doesn't matter if you're going to save somebody's life. If it means that you're endangering other people to be able to get there, then no, we need to find a more civilized way to be able to get to people. Because the truth be told, a lot of things that we're waiting for the first quote unquote responders are things that we're able to do for ourselves. I gave you the example about the apartment that they should have had ladders all up, not just this apartment. Every apartment should have ladders. You should have ladders available. You should have equipment like that available. So if there's a fire, and this was a very widespread fire, but most of the time the fires aren't. It's only like one or two families that are involved in it. So you should be able to have something where if you're only like 4 or 5 stories up, it's not that high up. You have a ladder. People are able to go get the ladder, and if the fire truck is able to get there and help out, great. But people are able to do that on their own first. So we see this a lot in one of the neighborhoods I used to frequent a lot and live near. They tell you, I mean, these people have $1 million houses, and they tell you, if you buy a house out here, your house catches on fire, your house is most likely going to get burned down because that particular township is just 2-lane highways, 1 lane each way, and there's no expressways or anything like that. So, and it's a large township. So to go from one area of the township to the other one could take you 40-45 minutes just on the roads. And a lot of them are dirt roads and stuff like that. And I started to think about that. I was like, man, you have this $1 million house, $2-3 million house, and they're telling you if your house catches fire, most likely your house will burn down because it takes the fire department that long to get out there. So I thought about this. I said, wow, you have a $3 million house. I said, you have a fire hydrant that's right in front of your house, but the fire hydrant is locked. You can't get to the water. Think about this. Your house is on fire. Just take a look at your house. Your house is on fire. The fire hydrants are close by. You know, if you have a house, part of it's different, but if you have a house, you know where the fire hydrants are. Right down the street, you know this. Or it used to be when I was coming up in the 80s, fire hydrants are every 2 or 3 houses. So you know where the fire hydrants are. But you can't do it to it because it's locked. You need a special key. And I would ask my mom about this when we were younger. And she's like, well, it takes special training for the fire department. It's like, no, it really doesn't. It doesn't take any special training. I mean, it's something maybe with the way they use the pressurized water. But we're talking about putting water on a fire. That doesn't take any special training. That's that type of putting water on fire is as old as civilization, right? They've been putting water on fire since the beginning of civilization. Now, if we've complicated things so that, you know what I mean, you need a darn near a degree to figure out how to put that out, that's something else. But it's really not. And the thing is, there are people with masters and PhDs who have their fire hydrants locked, and it's because it's too complicated and they don't know how to do it, but they have a PhD and a master's degree. So that doesn't make any sense to me. And another thing that doesn't make any sense to me is that every house should come equipped with their own fire hydrant that's like not even on the street. It should be right next to your backyard. And, if there's a fire, you just go take a hose, maybe bigger than a garden hose, but you take a hose and you turn on the water. Now, let me ask you this. Of all the fires that have happened, all the people that have died, all the precious heirlooms that have been lost, all the lives that have been lost, what percentage of those lives do you think would have been saved if they had access to their own fire hydrant? I'm just asking, take a guess. I don't know what the stats are per year, or how many people die in fires, or how many people have died in fires, but I promise you, I guarantee you, that number would drop by at least 50%. Well, that logic is the same logic that they use to almost kill people when these fire hydrants and ambulances are running through red lights or doing whatever they're doing to get to save a quote unquote a person. They're saying that every second counts. Well, in this particular case, every second does count. So if my house is on fire and I live where that community was, I don't have to wait an hour for the fire to get there. I can turn on a fire hydrant and I can take the hose and I can point it to where the fire is, right? And that's not to even mention in-house sprinkler systems, which cost less than $5,000. You can get an in-house sprinkler system for less than $5,000. So I know when I was specking out a home once, we were specking out a home. The base model of the house was $400,000. The model that they were showing us, the base was $400,000. So not a particularly large home, but a nice home. The model that they showed us was $1.7 million. They actually had over $1.2 million in what they call upgrades, right? So triple crown molding upgrade. If you want a larger space for your refrigerator upgrade, all these upgrades. So you have this upgrade, but you don't offer an upgrade. And this is in that same community. You don't offer an upgrade to be able to save your house from being burnt down by offering them a sprinkler system that's $5,000, but you'll offer me $35,000 triple crown molding. These are some of the things that we need to be able to think about in terms of practicality and how and why we do things and things of that nature. So the wisdom of the situation says that every house should have their own fire hydrant. And a fire hydrant should not, and we don't have to talk about, because the kids are going to do this to the water and things like that. Anytime you go through a life with what can happen when trying to do something good, you'll always concede to the bad. So the thing is, if we're trying to save lives, we don't worry about kids playing a fire hydrant. We don't worry about that. We find other measures, or we do other education measures. We educate them on the importance of not playing with this. That's what we do. But I looked at that and I said, wow, there's so many problems in life that are just like that. We have the ability to do it, but because we've empowered these one people to do it, we've disempowered ourselves. Instead of everyone should know how to fight fires. Fighting fires should be a part of a standard issue learning when you're at school. This is how to fight a fire. Everyone should know first aid. Everyone should know how to put a stitch in somebody. It's not difficult. See, they say it's difficult in all this training, but it's not. Anytime that someone says it's difficult, you can't do it, those are the people who haven't done it. It's not difficult because people with less education, think about it, the people who are you don't need a PhD or a master's to be a paramedic. You don't. But there's people who we call the smartest people in the world who are PhDs, even doctors and maybe doctors in education or something like that, PhDs, masters, bachelor, all these different type of degrees, but all throughout schooling they couldn't learn how to just do basic aid. We're talking about just basic CPR. I mean, I remember in the first grade I got maybe 2 minutes of CPR training, but this should be something that should be every year. Every year you should be getting CPR training. You should be learning that. You should know how to stitch someone. You should know how to put in an IV. Once again, it's not difficult because someone's doing it. When everyone says we can't let the public do it, no, people are doing it. So it can't be difficult because it's being done. And I've seen people put in bad IVs. So if someone puts in a bad IV, and those are the same people who putting in do well with IVs, then I know you can do well with IVs. So this is something that we need to consider when we start talking about IVs. This is the basic first aid, so the ambulance wouldn't have to run over and kill people. And there's been all types of instances people have been killed, maimed, injured because of ambulances and fire trucks, because they're trying to actually get to solve the problem, but we're solving it in a way that puts other people at harm. And that's not solving anything. Even the times that we get away with it, it still doesn't solve it. It just means that the problem hasn't happened yet. So the way we solve problems in life, that we don't constrict or restrain information. We make that information openly available. So fire hydrants should be openly available. Fire hydrants should be ubiquitous. You should have a house, a $2 million house should have multiple fire hydrants on site so you could get to it from north, south, east, and west. You can even maybe come up with an invention where you had a 2-layer fire hydrant where it could shoot water from the top. I don't know. But I'm just saying, these are all things to take into consideration. And these are things that, from a wisdom perspective, we can do in life to solve our own issues. So I want you to go in the comments section and tell me some things that you've experienced where they told you something was difficult, but then you found out that it really wasn't difficult, and it was something that you could have solved on your own and something that we could solve on your own, and that they were keeping that information from a control purpose, and that ended up hurting people. So let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know about the wisdom in this, and I'll be interested in your comments. Thank you so much.